In the ancient East, under a vast canopy of shimmering stars, a group of men watched the heavens. These were not ordinary stargazers. They were magi scholars, advisors to kings, keepers of ancient wisdom. For generations, their order had studied the celestial patterns, the cosmic rhythms, and the sacred texts that foretold the movements of God and man. They knew the stars held secrets, that the sky was a divine tapestry woven with messages for those with eyes to see. And then one night, it appeared, a star unlike any other. It didn't just shine. It blazed with purpose, a celestial announcement hanging in the velvet darkness. It was a light that didn't just illuminate the night, but pierced through the veil of time itself. To the Magi, its meaning was unmistakable. An ancient prophecy, long whispered and studied, was now being fulfilled. A new king had been born. Not just any king, but the king, the one whose coming was written in the stars. Compelled by this divine sign, they prepared for a journey of immense proportions. This was no casual trip. It meant leaving behind their homes, their comfort, their status. They gathered their most precious gifts, gold, fit for a king, frankincense, an offering for a deity, and myrrh, a fragrant resin used for anointing and burial, a strangely prophetic gift. They loaded their camels and set their faces to the west, their only guide that singular brilliant star. The journey was arduous, stretching for months across vast, unforgiving deserts and rugged mountains. They faced scorching sun, chilling nights, and the constant threat of bandits. Yet their resolve never wavered. Every night they would look up, find their celestial guide, and know they were on the right path. Their faith was not in a map, but in a promise hanging in the sky. This was a quest of pure worship, a pilgrimage of wisdom seeking its source. Finally, their long trek brought them to the imposing gates of Jerusalem, the heart of the Jewish nation. Surely, they thought, the capital city would be alive with celebration for its newborn king. As they entered the bustling streets, their regal bearing and foreign caravan drew immediate attention. They began to ask a simple, yet profoundly disruptive question. Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him, but there was no celebration in Jerusalem. Instead, their question was met with confusion, then suspicion, then a palpable wave of fear. The news spread like wildfire through the city, eventually reaching the ears of the one man who feared that question more than any other, King Herod. Herod, known as the Great for his ambitious building projects, was a man consumed by paranoia. He was not a rightful heir to the throne, but a political appointee of Rome, and he clung to his power with a blood-soaked grip. He had executed rivals, family members, even his own wife and sons, to secure his reign. The idea of another king of the Jews, a legitimate one born by divine right, was not just a political threat. It was an existential terror. His earthly kingdom, built on fear and violence, was being challenged. Immediately, a disturbance of the spirit settled over the entire city. If the king was troubled, everyone was troubled. Herod summoned his chief priests and scribes, the religious experts. He demanded an answer, not out of faith, but out of fear. Where is this Messiah supposed to be born? He snarled. The scholars, nervous in the presence of the volatile king, searched their sacred scrolls. They found the words of the prophet Micah written centuries before. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Bethlehem, a small, seemingly insignificant town just a few miles away. The answer both infuriated and terrified Herod. A plan, cold and calculating, began to form in his mind. He called the Magi to a secret meeting. Feigning piety, he questioned them intently about the exact time the star had appeared. Then, with a smile that masked his murderous intent, he said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." It was a masterful lie, a cloak of feigned worship to hide a dagger of pure hatred. Two kingdoms were now set on a collision course in the quiet streets of Jerusalem: the sincere, wisdom-led quest of the Magi, and the paranoid, power-hungry scheming of a desperate king, The Magi, unaware of the treachery, left the palace. As they stepped back into the night, a sense of relief must have washed over them. And then a miracle. The very star they had followed from the east reappeared, moving ahead of them once more. Its light seemed to cut through the political tension and spiritual darkness of Jerusalem, guiding them away from the city of fear and toward the town of hope. The star led them on the final leg of their journey, its light a beacon of heavenly truth in a world of earthly lies. They finally came to rest, hovering directly over a humble house in Bethlehem. The contrast was staggering. They had expected a palace, but the heavens pointed to a simple dwelling. Their hearts filled with an overwhelming joy. Their long, arduous journey was over. The quest of the ages had reached its destination. They entered the house and saw him a young child with his mother Mary. There were no guards, no throne, no emblems of royal power. And yet, in the face of this child, these wise, learned men saw everything they had been searching for. They saw the king. Without hesitation, they knelt. They bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures. They presented their gifts, the gold acknowledging his kingship, the frankincense honoring his divinity, and the myrrh foreshadowing his sacrifice. It was an act of pure, unadulterated adoration. Here, the wisdom of the East knelt before the innocence of a child. Earthly knowledge bowed to heavenly truth. Their mission complete, the Magi prepared to return to Jerusalem to report to Herod as promised. But that night they were warned in a dream not to go back. God intervened, protecting the child from the king's murderous plot. Heeding the divine warning, they returned to their own country by another route, leaving Herod to his fury and his empty throne. The collision of kingdoms had happened not with the clash of swords, but with the quiet bending of a knee. One king sought to kill the child to save his kingdom. The wise men bowed to the child, and in doing so, found theirs. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more.